Okay. We can put a title on it later, I think. All right, are we on? All right. Are we live? We're live, I think.
I think we're live.
Okay. Hey, okay. Hey. Hodl, hodl, hodl. Save, save, save. Builder, builder, builder. Sound money, sound money. Hey, that's a stupid, silly dance, but there's so much in that, guys. You need to get that ingrained in your DNA. That's what's called money management and portfolio management. Okay. And that's one thing that I really like about Tyler Jenks. That I knew he was a success because he knew money management. And any good trader cannot be a long-term success unless that's incorporated into whatever he's doing. So, at any rate, we are here with. I have an old friend that I met at several conferences. I think the first time I met you was at Anarchapulco.
I don't remember if we met at Anarchapulco. I know you were at Anarchapulco, but I don't know if we officially met until Unconfiscatable.
Okay. Well, yeah. I you know how it goes with those conferences. It's like they're all overwhelming. Okay. The nice thing about the Working Man's Bitcoin Conference, at least this inaugural one, there's not going to be a whole lot of us there, so it's going to be a very intimate thing.
Were you at the first Anarchapulco, Ugly?
The what?
I said, were you at the first one?
One in 2000. No, I was at the one in 2017. February.
Okay, yeah. I was at that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we were both there. So we may have run into each other.
I know. I remember meeting you and then meeting you the second time. I'm sure.
Well, when we met, I probably didn't know who you were. That's probably why I don't remember you, because I didn't know you were Ugly Old Goat when we met at Anarchapulco.
No, I wasn't. And I wasn't Ugly Old Goat. I was just a Bitcoin investor, and I wanted to go to that conference. I was just a conference attendee. And so, guys, if you're thinking about going to a conference, this is how it all starts. When we start going to these conferences, and you have to kind of network, and my goal is, hey, there's an opportunity out here. My wife wants to be a fashion designer, and I said, look, if you really want to be a world-renowned fashion designer, you need to get into the Bitcoin community, because we're going to be setting the fashions in the future, and we have the money to spend, for the fashion. So, it just makes good common business sense. That's basically what it's all about. So, but at any rate, we are here because a Saturday Night Live that I think we did in July, and it was just about a week before Tyler Jenks' passing. He was on with several other speakers that are going to be speaking on the cruise. And, I love Tyler Jenks because he's so thorough, but these kind of things you kind of have to limit. And so, he revealed at that time that he had these new 10 pillars of Bitcoin, and he was just so excited about them. And I passed that on to Twitter. You guys can look at that. And he was so excited about sharing that with us. And he just kept going and going. And finally, I just said, Tyler, I said, okay, I can't stop you, but you got to save explaining these 10 things and just tell us what they are, and then you got to reveal them at this conference. And he was so excited about doing that, so he threw that all out there, 10, and we were just discussing them. We're going to try and figure out what they were, okay? And hopefully take a coordinated effort. Hopefully we'll be able to find his notes. That would be the best thing, because otherwise some of them we're going to be kind of guessing and filling in the blanks. And he had some just fantastic ways of explaining things. He was the one that came up with Bitcoin is not ready for prime time. That was his phrase. And he said, we've got to scrape the barnacles off the ship. He invented those terms. And you know what? That relates to working guys like you and me. We get it. Okay. I don't understand why all altcoins are bad, okay? But I can understand that barnacles are bad and they need to be scraped off a ship. And then that helps me to understand, why Bitcoin is unique, which is another thing that he explained. And he was the one that taught me when I first started listening. When he first became a Bitcoin presence, he talked about the 5 pillars of Bitcoin. And that's where I got that. And I actually wrote about it in my Medium articles. And we all get started differently in this thing. Okay. I was not, as Bitcoin Moses back there in 2017, I was just at a conference, and I got up and made a confrontation bet with Roger Ver there, that if he get behind, Sedgwick, it would pass within a few months. And I put up, I didn't have much, but I put up a $10,000 bet. Of course, you can imagine, and they were supposed to put that on YouTube, but it never got published. It made quite a stir, but of course it was quietly, because that Acapulco is very Bitcoin Cash friendly, because basically Roger subsidizes a lot of that conference. So this one's not being subsidized by anyone but Ugly Old Goat. Okay, we don't have any sponsorships, but the speakers, if they have something they want to offer, that's fine. But that's not you're not going to see any commercial offerings at this conference. But it just the things that Tyler inspired me. The other thing that he wrote before his passing and before the Unconfiscatable is he outlined very clearly in a classic article why Bitcoin is so necessary because of the debt crisis that's coming, and very thorough article. And so all of these things I want to kind of memorialize, and that's why I asked. I'm very fortunate. After everybody was done grieving, I asked Socrates if he would be willing to step in Tyler's shoes and try and address these 10 pillars of Bitcoin. And so you got a big task on your hands between now and September 19th.
Yeah, that's no kidding. I'm definitely really looking forward to it. This is something that I am very, very passionate about myself and really enjoy thinking about and talking about. So it will be quite the task, but I feel like I'll be up for the job, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Well, I'm looking forward to working with you on it too. So I'm going to be looking at those 10 things myself, and independently putting in my 2 cents worth. But boy, it would sure be helpful if we can get a hold of his his notes, because I'm sure he had it written out somewhere. And knowing who he was, he probably didn't have it on a laptop. He probably has it on a piece of paper somewhere.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Way I get things to remember. So, at any rate, that's our task. Yeah, and our task, the conference is going to be focused on entrepreneurship. I mean, Socrates is a trader too. He's got his trading advice, but and we'll talk about the market a little bit too. But that's really not where we're going, in this meeting. And it's really not much. We'll do a little bit on trading, but that's just a small part of Bitcoin. My vision is you need to start incorporating Bitcoin in your business, in your daily life. And that's what this seminar is about, to kind of start a movement to get that thing going. So Bitcoin motorist, tell us your story about Bitcoin. I know a little bit about it, and we have one thing that's really in common. We both like motorcycles, but I think you like them less than I do.
Well, no, I still like motorcycles, even though I kind of got into Bitcoin partially because of a motorcycle crash, because I had a lot of time on my hands as I was recovering from the crash, to be able to just spend months and months reading about this stuff and learning about it, and even was able to go to a conference in 2013, in May of 2013, in San Jose. This was the first major Bitcoin conference, and met a lot of people there. I met Gavin Andreessen, Jeff Garzik, the guy who was behind the Cassatius coins, A lot of the people who were in the mining space back then. I know Roger Ver was there too, but I didn't think I even knew who Roger Ver was back then, so I didn't even get a chance to talk to him. And a lot of the speeches were really incredible, especially two come to mind, especially two of the speeches that were given at that conference in 2013. One was by Eric Voorhees, who, kind of disappointing what happened to Eric Voorhees. He was such a hardcore Bitcoiner. It's kind of disappointing to see the direction that he went. And the other one was from someone that we like. I think all of us like this guy, Tour de Meester. Tour de Meester gave a very good speech at that conference, so much so that when I came home from that conference in May of 2013, before I was already a Bitcoiner, I already liked Bitcoin, but I don't think I understood how much of an incredible technology this was until I heard Tour de Meester's and Eric Voorhees' speeches, especially. And there was lots of other people there. Charlie Shrem was there, and many other. And I think Andreas Antonopoulos was there too. Although again, nobody knew who he was back then. He wasn't really all that well known back then.
I have a question for you. I had one of those Casicius. I went to a conference in San Diego. I don't know what year. That was way back. Probably when we had, I know it was when the Bitcoin was $200 or $300 because I bought one for $500, which was about twice the price of Bitcoin at the time. But who was it again that devised the Casicius?
So the guy's name was, I think it's Mike Caldwell, if I'm remembering correctly. Mike Caldwell was the guy who was behind the Casicius coins, and he was there. He wasn't there as a speaker or anything. He was just kind of just there at the conference, just networking, just like everybody else. I was hanging out with him for a bit. We talked for a little bit. I had no idea what Casicius coins were or who he was, but a lot of people knew who he was. They were like, "Oh, you're the guy behind the Casicius coins." They were like kind of like, they were like fanboying around him. But I didn't know who he was at the time until I met him there.
Yeah, and that really pretty well explains what Bitcoin is all about, because Casicius was a great idea, great entrepreneurship too, but he got shut down. Because by the government, because unfortunately they didn't prosecute him or put him in jail or anything. They just kind of a cease and desist.
No, they just threatened him. All they did is threaten him. That's all.
Right. And so, and I'd been, that was part. I've been in this thing basically. I was doing private money experiments back in the. Shortly after gold was legalized, and actually I started a company, Gold Standard Corporation, and I mismanaged it, and so I take that blame, but the consequences were far greater than I know. In other words, if you're doing something that's politically not acceptable, you're going to get a double whammy, and so he was fortunate that didn't happen, and the only reason. The difference now being on these ICOs is a lot of them have a lot of money, so it's a little, they have a defense that I didn't have, and like for example, what's his name? The guy that did the Liberty coin,
Liberty Dollar.
Bernard. Yeah,
Bernard von Nuthouse or something like that.
Von Nuthouse, yeah. And we knew each other way back when. He actually came and visited me when I was, head Gold Standard Corporation. And so, and in the innovations, I didn't innovate much, but I do take claim being the first one to decimalize the troy ounce. I was the first one to mint a tenth of the half, the Hayek half and the Hazlitt quarter, and the Adam Smith 10 piece, which was a tenth of an ounce. Everybody else was going metric, and then they saw, wow, this guy, I was selling a lot of them, and then they all went that direction too, and had government subsidies, and those are all different stories. But anyway, I on your show when you were outlining too with Tone about why, when you came to the realization of why Bitcoin is so special, and why and you actually came up with, you said there's a term in computer science that you mentioned. What do you want to explain that to us a little bit?
Absolutely. We make a lot of cases for Bitcoin standard bearer or Bitcoin maximalism, and these are all economic cases. But there's just a practical software case to be made for just owning just Bitcoin if you're gonna be in the crypto space, which I'm not in crypto. You're not in crypto, Ugly. We're in Bitcoin. But there's a term called software minimalism. And this is a very important term. It was told to me by a guy by the name of Brian Sovereign, who has a podcast called Sovereign Tech. Now, Brian Sovereign he does talk about Bitcoin occasionally, but he's very much in the liberty anarchist technology space. That's what he mostly talks about. And I kind of live by this software minimalism. He says that if you have a device that comes with a calculator, just use the calculator it comes with. Don't download another one. If it comes with a web browser, just use the web browser it comes with. Don't download another one. He says the less extra software you have on your device, the fewer ways it could be compromised. So just from a practicality standpoint, you do want to have, if you have to figure out how to secure your Dash and your Litecoin and your Ethereum and all this stuff, and you're downloading all these different wallets onto your devices, you're just downloading more and more and more ways that you could get hacked. And I've seen this firsthand happen. I mean, we all know the story of Michael Turpin. By the way, I believe Michael Turpin was at that 2013 Bitcoin conference as well, although, again, nobody knew who he was back then. But Michael Turpin had this issue where he was hacked. And part of the reason may have been because he had so many different altcoins, he couldn't secure them all. And I was at PorcFest this past June, PorcFest, and there was a fundraiser for Free Ross, because we're all huge supporters of Ross Ulbricht, and we want to work towards seeing him be free again. But so the fundraiser and the auction for Ross Ulbricht, people were donating all these different types of coins. Some people were donating Bitcoin Cash, some people were donating Dash, and the people who are collecting these donations, they're trying to figure out, what's going on with all these. Okay, where's my Dash? And I was downloaded, now it's showing a zero balance. They're trying to figure out what to, and I'm just thinking to myself, if you just take Bitcoin, then you don't have to worry about all these extra, things that you have to worry about. So that's part of it too. Is I do think that we should also stress, just from a practical computer security software minimalism standpoint, that it just makes sense to just own Bitcoin and not have to worry about all these other coins out there.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, what you just told me, I guess we shouldn't download Chrome or Firefox on our cell phones and just use whatever they send us, I guess, huh?
Usually I do. So if I have an Android phone, I use Chrome. If I have an iPad, I just use Safari. I don't download Chrome onto my iPad for that reason.
Really? Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah, good to know. Too late now. I just got a new cell phone. But there's cultural differences too. Now that was if my understanding of Michael Turpin's hack, that was done from his cell phone. And one of the reasons they were able to do it is in the United States, you can actually switch, your SIM card remotely. They just ask you a few security questions and that's it. And that's kind of a cultural thing. I live in Mexico, and sometimes it gets really frustrating because it's hard to do business down here because it's a different culture. And they just don't have that, I want it done right, I want it done now mentality that we as Americans do. And they're just more of a manana, and it's very important that they see you face to face. You can't switch your SIM card remotely by phone. You have to go in and they have to see you. You got to wait in line, and just about anything else is that way too. I just have a, auto pay doesn't work down here on my cell phone. they just shut off my cell phone, and they've been apparently they haven't charged me for the last 8 months. I thought I had it on auto pay, and I've always had a problem. I think it's on auto pay, and it never is. But in Mexico, if you don't pay your bill right on time, the next day you don't have service. You got to go wait in line, and it takes an hour. The same thing with just going to the bank. It's just, but those kind of little things also makes it more secure down here. Because that kind of a hack, isn't going to happen like it can. We want, as Americans, we want everything to be easy, and sometimes a little more work makes it a lot more secure.
Right, it's security.
That's a basic principle at work.
It's security versus convenience, and we value convenience more than security.
All right. Well, Socrates, tell us a little bit. You have been able to look at those 10 pillars of Bitcoin. He added 5, and some of them are a mystery to me. I mentioned one of them. The last one that he mentioned was eternality. It's amazing how a man created words. But that was one. I said, boy, now I don't know if that, this is a creation of man, and I don't really want to be I love Bitcoin and it's useful, but I also don't want to make it, a golden calf out of it. So what have you found so far on these things?
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying in terms of it can kind of start to sound a little bit like a cult when you bring in these words like eternality, and that is something that I have thought a lot about, and I really do think that Bitcoin maximalists or Bitcoin standard bearers pretty much meet the definition of being in a cult with Satoshi.
It's not a cult, it's a religion.
Yeah. To me, the difference between a cult and a religion is how long they've been around. If a cult
it's not a religion, guys. It's not a cult. It's simply money. Okay. I think it's so exciting right now because, the governments realize the problem and they're seriously considering a gold standard. And incidentally, that's another little tidbit that I learned from Tyler Jenks, and he said, the only real competitor to Bitcoin is gold, and and it's a different competitor because it's the standard that governments will have to adopt. I'm actually getting ready to write about, I think there's actually going to be, I consider Bitcoin to be the new America, and I actually have found that people, particularly that lived under communism, have recognized that much easier than we do. And I really do think that in the decade ahead, we're actually going to be seeing the emergence of a Bitcoin nation. It'll be a decentralized nation, but it's going to be unique in its own ways. And, and so it's important. I'm only going to be here a few more years, hopefully,
many more years.
Well, we'll see. But, it's you guys who are younger than I am that are going to be carrying the Bitcoin standard. And so I just feel like my job is, hey, I made it. I know how it works. I can guide you guys through it. And of course, the most important thing, which again, the way I've made my bones in this is I haven't done it through YouTube. I'm just now learning YouTube. I didn't do it through Twitter. I did it through Medium articles. And then what really got me going was, and through my successful trading. And Tone Bays, of course, I just sent him my record. Hey, here's what I've done. Here's what I'm doing, and started writing. And he was, and then I found out I can really write. so that in a way that other people can understand. So, that's, I kind of keep it simple, stupid, and dollar cost averaging is really simple, stupid. And but it works as long as you're fundamentally correct in the market, because by definition you're going to be buying more at a lower price than at a higher price. And so but people aren't interested in that. I don't know if you saw that video the other day that Tone did, with SAS, and he says, yeah, I did a money management seminar, but nobody wants to attend it. And he says trading is 90% money management, so there has to be a reverse thinking. And the biggest problem, as I'm sure you guys all know, and I went through it because I was guilty of it, is just getting people to understand why Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. Once you get through that hurdle, now you can start going somewhere. But fighting these altcoins, and whatever the next thing is that's better than Bitcoin, has been a problem. But you know what? It's going away. We're going to naturally win the battle in the marketplace, but we are actually also winning it in the battle for ideas. And I can just feel it, and I can see it. And I said, when Tone did his unconfiscatable conference and there was no sponsors there, I said, look, this is what you're going to see more and more of this direction. And it is where we're going to be going. And, and that's what's really exciting. And I didn't really get it until I went and found an old Hayek article, and he recognized that right off the bat. The competition is going to be on the standard. We find a standard, and then we have the free market competition with the moral fiber of basically, the 10 Commandments, which is, to sum up is, we love the Lord with all of our heart, and we love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And this is where, I found we're finding more and more the wheat is being separated from the chaff, and people just surprise us all the time that they get off the Bitcoin, and we always want to be welcoming them, have our arms up. Hey, we'd love to have you back, Roger, but you need to, stop going where you're going. But by the same token, what I found is, to do business with people that, and they may not even know about Bitcoin yet, but if you persuade them and once they get it, they generally are very good entrepreneurs that you can implicitly trust, and which is a big thing in business, because you don't want to, if you've been in business at all, some of the biggest problems I've ever had has been from within, somebody that just, they get mad at you and want to destroy you, or they steal from you or whatever. And I just, that's a rarity in those that are in the Bitcoin standard movement, because we understand, we're not, we want a standard to do business, and we know exactly why Bitcoin is that standard. And it's really not even, it's not the point of even getting rich in Bitcoin, because you probably will, but you're going to be successful because your whole lifestyle and the things that you're doing are going to be based on an honest, sound money system. And it just changes the way you think and do things. You have a much, much longer perspective than you do if, say, well, if you're a trader, and that's the problem I see in trading. All the people, they lost money, and so they want to make it all back tomorrow, and it's not going to. It just doesn't work that way. So, anyways, what are your views of this market there, Socrates? I see that I'm going to express my views a little bit, and then let you have at it. I'm of the opinion that we are probably starting a new paradigm in Bitcoin, and the paradigm is that it's becoming a mature market now, and I think I've seen that through the and the futures are trading at a premium where they should, and it gets out of line, gets to be too big, and then it comes back down. I think the old days of it going into backwardization are gone. And if this paradigm shifts, then I don't think we're going to sell down a lot. If this, by the same token, if these altcoins collapse, which they should, it could drag Bitcoin down with it. And I've said all along, this market structure right now, in my opinion, is bad, and it was bad ever since July when I wrote about it. And it hasn't. It's not bad anymore. We've taken the wind out of the sails, and it may not, it may be now resilient, that we basically have, devastated most of the alts, and they're not going to come back. And I think Bitcoin will come back, but it doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't go back down before it does come back. It would be the healthiest thing. I mean, frankly, I'd love to see it go back all the way down to $3,000 and test those lows. That would be so healthy and good, and give people that I'm trying to reach an opportunity to dollar cost average in. But, you know, I don't make any predictions. I haven't. Any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I've got some thoughts that I can share from a fundamental perspective, and then I also am willing to make some predictions, for better or worse. Before getting into that, I did want to just finish the thought that I brought up earlier, and just going to read the definition of a cult. And that is devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, a relatively small group of people having religious practices regarded by others as strange, misplaced, or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. I think we pretty much meet all of those definitions, and that doesn't bother me a little bit. So in terms of the market, the one thing that I am really liking the most is how Bitcoin is regaining back its market cap dominance. And I've been watching that very closely, have been predicting for it to return to above 80% before the end of this year. And what I have noticed is that it's really been annual cycles that we have seen. In 2017, that year, when the dominance went from 90% down to 60%. And then in 2018, it just went sideways. And then now, as soon as 2019 started, it started taking off to the upside. So I'm really expecting that to finish strong. And the question in my mind is if Ethereum and Ripple and a bunch of these other large cap altcoins really bite the dust, how much is that going to affect Bitcoin? Is that going to bring Bitcoin down with it? Or is that just going to make Bitcoin stronger because now people are flying to safety? And as Ugly said, maybe the market is becoming more mature, which absolutely is a good thing. So I am short right now. I've been short from about 10,300 and I sold my spot above 11,000. I am expecting a pullback to 7,500. Recently had a head and shoulders that's very clear on the 12-hour. Can definitely see it on the daily as well. Target for that is 7,500. That lines up with a prior horizontal support and resistance area. So that is where I am looking for this pullback to go. And what I'm hoping is that Bitcoin will consolidate from 7,000 to 8,000 for a few months. If Bitcoin can go sideways while alts go down, that would be perfect. And then Bitcoin would really be ready to take off coming into the halving that will be coming up. So that is my short-term expectation, and my long-term prediction based on prior bubbles and market cycles is that this bull market will take us to $151,000 per Bitcoin by May of 2022. So that's what my thoughts are about this market.
Wow. Okay. Well, you made it pretty definite and pretty clear. You know, about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I wrote about, you know, the coming collapse in the altcoin market. And I think I made as much money being short Ethereum and Bcash as and Ripple as I was long Bitcoin. But I called it when in my article, and I actually appeared on Tone Bays. The first time I appeared as Ugly Old Goat, it was a different mask and everything. And I called it the exit. And that exit is pronounced with a lisp, and you have to have a weak wrist. Now, there's a reason for that, because this description that I have is to honor the creator of the altcoins, our good friend Vitalik Buterin. So thank you, Vitalik, for giving me these wonderful ways of communicating the things that you do.
Can I say something about Vitalik Buterin?
Pardon?
Can I say something about Vitalik Buterin?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when I was at that conference in 2013, Vitalik Buterin was actually there. He wasn't one of the featured speakers, but he was being interviewed by Free Talk Live, Ian Freeman and Mark Edge, who were also both there. And they had Vitalik on his show when they were doing a live broadcast from the conference. And they were interviewing Vitalik Buterin, and I was like seeing this nerdy kid here being interviewed, and you know, he couldn't have been more than 19 or 20 years old at the time. And I was like, oh, who is this guy? He's got kind of a Russian accent. He's talking about Bitcoin. At the time, do you know what he was known for back then in 2013? This is before Ethereum was even an idea. Do you know what Vitalik Buterin was known for back then? Either
Absolutely not. No, it's before my time. Okay, go ahead.
So back then, Vitalik Buterin was I believe he was the founder of Bitcoin Magazine, and he wrote most of the articles on Bitcoin Magazine. So Vitalik Buterin was a hardcore Bitcoin guy back then. And then so after he went up, he was very awkward. Like the interview didn't go that well. But afterwards, I was like, I thought there was something interesting about this guy. So I went up to him and I introduced myself. I said, oh, hi, Vitalik. My name is Patrick, and I look forward to reading your magazine, Bitcoin Magazine. It looks like it's a very interesting magazine. So I bought a few copies of Bitcoin Magazine from him that they were selling there. And then so I guess when I found out that he was behind Ethereum, I was interested in it because I knew who he was before, or I met him before Ethereum was even an idea. So he had kind of this credibility with me because he was the guy behind Bitcoin Magazine. So back then, I didn't know any better, but back then I thought Ethereum was an interesting project. But here was the first warning sign. Here's the first warning sign that I had that Ethereum might not be all it's cracked up to be. The white paper for Ethereum was released. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was like 3 or 4 months before the token sale happened. And the first day that the white paper was released, I went and I downloaded it and I started reading it. And I was really, really excited. I was like, okay, this is the next big thing. This is the next Bitcoin. It's Ethereum. I started reading the white paper and I was reading all these things and I was like, oh, this is all cool and everything. But then the first warning sign was when I realized that the white paper was like 50 pages long. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I haven't even cracked like the first, the first fifth of it. I've been 10 pages in and I thought I was almost done with the white paper. I'd barely not even been halfway. So that was the first warning sign when I saw that it wanted to do too many things, that it was trying to be everything to every single thing. And I knew, even with my limited computer science knowledge, I knew that wasn't necessarily ideal. And I like the simplicity of the Bitcoin white paper. Anybody can read it. It's 8 pages long. It's simple to understand. The complexity of the Ethereum white paper was the first warning sign that this project may not be all it's cracked up to be.
Okay, well that's I know I felt like I missed out on it on the initial offering, and then I bought some actually lower, and I was into the alts then, and I was going to hold on to it, and then of course I was big fan of Tone Vays, and Tone Vays just educated me. I said, I'm not holding on to this stuff. I think I sold Ethereum, way too cheap. I think I sold it all at $2 or $3. I don't know what it was, but at any rate, it's the long-term fundamentals that we have to look at and what constitutes sound money. And so that's definitely where we are at. As far as this market, what lies ahead, I'm the first one to tell you that I have no idea. I don't make any predictions. I do very much believe that successful trading doesn't even require that. It just is a matter of manage your money first. I think the technical things are interesting, but in fact, Tone Vays just admitted as much on his last show that 90% of trading is money management. And if you do that correctly, you can probably be a bad technical trader and still be very profitable. And that's kind of what dollar cost averaging, it keeps you in the game. But what I'm looking at is I'm much more bullish in the long run. And it's just a matter of when it's going to come. And so I would be very reluctant to make any predictions on the upside of Bitcoin because there really is no limit. The fundamentals is really not so much Bitcoin, but the paper tsunami that this next generation, hopefully I won't, it might be okay to witness this, but there's going to be problems that are going to happen. And you will see persecution of Bitcoiners in certain areas, and I think that like the Bitcoin Nation is actually going to be transcend those things, and we kind of have to really watch each other's backs. I don't see it as being. I've never seen Bitcoin as banking the unbankable. That for the most part, the unbankable are unbankable for a reason. That's not 100% true. There's our exceptions, okay, but for the most part, they are. And but that doesn't mean that those people will not benefit from Bitcoin. They were. I mean, I believe that the purpose of Bitcoin is to get us through a sound money transition and avoid chaos. If that is accomplished, then Bitcoin has really served mankind to a wonderful purpose, because the fiat money experiment that we've had for the past 100 years is unprecedented, and it will come up and bite us. And hopefully, I think that Bitcoin will minimize that damage, and that's really the fundamental thing behind it. And like I say, even though we proselytize by Bitcoin, put yourself on the Bitcoin standard, even those that don't get it, if they are working with us, if they're doing, if they're part of a protective society, we as Bitcoiners, then it's really opens up the whole idea of, what I call the new America, or a Bitcoin nation. It's going to be a nation that transcends all other nations. And which is just here's another thought I just had last night. I said, we'll actually have governments competing for which government provides the most liberty. Wow, wouldn't that be something? And this, I mean, because the governments are seriously talking about, putting themselves back on a gold standard, which they're going to have to regain their credibility. And it's terrifying now to me. For example, these corporate bonds now with a negative interest rate, which is just unprecedented. It's phony, guys. It's really phony. So I see the next big wave as being the largest one that Bitcoin's ever had, and probably surprise us all. So you definitely never want to be short Bitcoin. Now you might want to, I go short, I hedge. I actually have an article on there, Lambos as a store of value. My wife, she wanted a Raptor F-150. And she also wanted a Mercedes, and Bitcoin was over 20,000. So okay, and then she got rid of both of them with a year later, and she wound up, in terms of Bitcoin, she was able to basically what we paid 8 Bitcoin for, she traded it for equipment with the equivalent of about 40 Bitcoin. So, it's a volatile market, and you this idea of just hodl without rewarding yourself. You need to reward yourself, which I call saving. Upgrade your computer if it's something even that small. Take your wife out to dinner, take a nice vacation like we just did. We bought a new bus for this conference that can take 18 people around. And then the next, you want to hodl some, and then you also want to invest in what I call build. And by building, we're entrepreneurs. We don't build the back end of Bitcoin. And we don't even have to have we're not a Bitcoin exchange. We're not trading it. We have our own specialties. My specialty is I built a voice broadcasting business, and now I'm starting uglyoldgoat.com. But I don't know what are you doing right now, Bitcoin Motors? What things are you doing in the marketplace to get yourself on the Bitcoin standard?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, let me just say that I want to comment on a few of the things that you said. So one of the things that you say, which is very, very important, is that there's going to be 2 types of entrepreneurs: those who have Bitcoin and those who don't. So I definitely want to make sure I'm in the first category. And I really, really liked what Tyler had to say, which you mentioned on this show, which is about the altcoins are the barnacles. They're riding off of Bitcoin's success, and they're holding everything back. Now, one of the things that I think Socrates is going to be working on in trying to piece together these 10 pillars of Bitcoin. I know that I heard Tyler talk about. I heard that Tyler talk about something about how Bitcoin, maybe it was the 5 pillars of Bitcoin, where a Bitcoin should be unlosable, and it should be, you should be able to pass it on to your heirs. So I'm wondering if the eternality or the singularity or one of those things has something to do with that. I'm not really sure. I think maybe Socrates or you, Ugly, could know better than me, but I'm trying to remember what all these things were.
Well, the best thing that comes to my mind is once you post something on the internet, it never goes away.
Correct. Now, as far as
in eternality, I mean, that's a thing, and that's not exactly true because things do disappear, and but once it does appear, somebody can save them. So, and that's kind of what it's really not eternality. But so long as people, are keeping the nodes active, as long as we have, I mean, if electricity goes away, so is Bitcoin. So it's not eternal in that sense. And we could certainly blow ourselves up. So we're back living in caves.
And as far as, sorry to interrupt you, Ugly. As far as what I'm working on myself, one of the things that you mentioned is that the Bitcoin is a nation, and that they're not going to just walk away. The powers that be, or the powers that shouldn't be, and they're not going to just walk away and give up all their power. So they're definitely going to fight back. So some of the things that we could do as Bitcoiners is to learn from, say, some of the mistakes some of the early Bitcoiners did, the ones who got in trouble with the law. I don't think Charlie Shrem should have gone to prison. I don't think Ross Ulbricht should be in prison. But we can certainly learn from their stories and try to avoid making exactly the same mistakes they did. Even if the laws are immoral, we should do our best to try to follow the laws. I know personally somebody who had federal charges brought up against them, because all they were doing was just, buying and selling Bitcoin, and somehow that's considered to be, this is something illegal. So I think that we could learn from these mistakes. And as far as me personally, what I'm working on is I'm trying to hone my skills. I was never really a coder, but I think that going forward, it's just a skill that everybody has to have. So I am brushing up on this. I bought Jimmy Song's book. I bought a book on learning Python. So I'm trying to do as much as I can to understand this. And I don't need to become a back-end developer, but I do want to understand this technology on a deeper level than even I understand it now. And that's what I'm working on myself to prepare myself for the future. So basically, it's just have Bitcoin and just be knowledgeable about the details of this space. That's what I'm working on. I think that's a good guide for everybody to follow.
Yeah, I have Jenny Song's book too, and I've never cracked it. It's not because I haven't wanted to. It's just my plate's really full, and I feel like that's not my strength anyway. So I want to, and I know he came out with a new book which I really want to read because I'm not sure that was put together, and he has a little different view of things. I want to find out exactly what his thinking is, because I have a very high regard for Jimmy. Jimmy basically gave us the framework. I mean, in speaker points, he lost his debate on the Bitcoin cruise, but the intellectual argument, he just won it hands down. And and that's the important thing, because that's what lasts for the long term. And he was very much an inspiration to the articles, subsequent articles that I've done on Roger Ver. So, I noticed Vortex just tweeted out something yesterday, pointing out how fraudulent Bitcoin Cash really is, and because of the deception and how it is really misleading newbies, and that's. Frankly, that's one of our biggest things is to get people, because as soon as they hear about Bitcoin, then they want to find something better than Bitcoin, and because they never really get Bitcoin. So you kind of have to go through that process. You hear about Bitcoin, you got to look at these other things, and then you come back to it. And if somehow we can cut that vision a little shorter, that'd be great. And the problem that we have, I was going to mention one other thing that I see as a problem this year. I thought we would break much harder. Usually we get a real hard break in July or August, and we didn't really we got a break, but not a hard break, where we took that market, way down on some kind of catastrophe. And I've always thought that it's going to be, some SEC crackdown, which still, that other shoe can drop, and it will be terrifying, and to a lot of people, and particularly those people that still, have their Bitcoin somewhere else, and they think they have Bitcoin. Because your Bitcoin on the exchanges, it's vulnerable. It just is. And if they crack down on, and the other thing that's vulnerable, while our Bitcoin is not vulnerable, we as people, as individuals, we are. Because we're in the space, they know that ugly old goat, I make no secret of it, has Bitcoin. Now, I know people that go completely the opposite way and want to be completely private and secure, and don't even, and I get it, but that's not going to get us through this. It really isn't. We have to be willing to, somebody's got to get out there on the front line and run up Omaha Beach, and that's basically what you two guys are doing, and that's why I want to encourage people that are relatively new. We don't have any superstars except Tyler, who left us on this conference. Now I have Gabriel Divine. He's been in it for a long time, but he's not at the superstar caliber. But I don't think that's really what's necessary anymore. And so my view is, and I've got people that we're ready to go to the next level, and we're basically going to be the soldiers to introduce this to new entrepreneurs. And yeah, there's Bitcoin entrepreneurs that have Bitcoin and those that don't. And I have found that if you can explain it to a fellow entrepreneur and they get it, they are generally very good people to do business with. In fact, I haven't found one that has that I've had a bad experience with yet. So it really is, basically it's a nation of trust. It's a nation of integrity, and it's a nation of liberty. And when, if you're attracted to those things, and, and it's one of independence. So these are the ideals where we're going, and we don't have any land that we're trying to protect. We're only defending one little piece of text. It's not even, I was just reading an article by Beauty on that I retweeted that I thought was great. He says it really is not money. It's just a protocol. It's really speech. It's free speech. And as long as we can protect that free speech, it is going to continue to increase in value, because freedom is really priceless. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, but that's where the vision I see for this thing. I'm excited about it. I really am. I love doing this. I've profited from it, and now all I'm doing is I want to put back in and say, hey guys, this is where it's at. You take it or leave it. That's what you need to do. So. Oh, hey, Bitcoin Motors, I need to get you a referral code. So anybody that signs up for the newsletter, are you already a member or not?
Actually, I don't think I am. I'm sorry to say, I don't think I am. But certainly I'm going to, I've made some YouTube videos earlier this year, so I'm going to start making some more, and I don't have a huge following on YouTube, but I'll definitely promote your.
Yeah, well,
cruise.
let me get you. I'll get you a referral code, and I need to do the same with Socrates too. So I will try and get to that today. But I just, if you guys follow Bitcoin Motorists or Socrates, and you decide you want to either subscribe to the newsletter or go to the conference, if you use their link, which I will provide them. Socrates, I think, is using Tyler's link, so it'll go to benefit Tyler Jenks' estate. We can just use that one. But you will get a 15% discount off of the newsletter, or if you go on the cruise, you'll get a 15% discount off the conference ticket. So we still have about, I have 4 full cabins left for about 8 people on the cruise. So if you need to get a ticket before you go to the next level, I actually bought all the cabins that I could get for the cruise. So they're there. After you purchase a ticket, I'll actually be sending you guys a PayPal invoice for the cruise, and for whatever my costs are, I'll eat the PayPal charge. So I hate PayPal, but you know what? We still have to use those credit cards, and it's silly not to. I mean, I just went on a extended vacation to all the national parks, and I didn't spend any Bitcoin. I put it all on credit cards, and then I come back and I sell the Bitcoin and pay off the cards. That's the way you do it. It's that's what the Bitcoin standard is about. So at any rate, so anything else here, guys, you want to talk about? I just I wanted to kind of introduce 2 more speakers that are coming. These guys, Socrates is an apprentice to Tyler. Tyler was my headline. It's really very saddened. I mean, it took a lot of us a long time to get over the grief. I was just amazed how a lot of us grieved over his loss. So, which I thought was, a lot of people just have a very high regard for him. And like I said, I guess I'm the old guy in the movement now, but I don't have near the character that he was. He was a gentleman in every sense of the word. And I'm a little obnoxious, so but that's.
Yeah, you brought up.
I think maybe he's been spared, but maybe I like to fight the tougher battle, so maybe he would spare some of the things that we might be experiencing, which I hope we don't, in the years ahead. But I'm excited, guys. I'm stoked. If we get this thing, my goal on this is. I'm looking to get it really professionally. If we can live stream, if we have enough, good enough, Wi-Fi on the ship, we'll live stream it. But I also want to professionally record it. So I'm depending on you guys. I know that you're all going to deliver some top-notch content, and I want it to be, it's a different kind of seminar if this thing goes. And we did this when there's a major race here in Ensenada, the Baja 400, which you'll really like that, Bitcoin Motorist. Have you ever seen a Baja race?
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
What kind of motorcycle did you wipe out on anyway?
So it was a Yamaha V-Star 650, little Yamaha cruiser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm more of a cruiser guy.
Okay. Oh, down here in Mexico, the KLR 650 Enduro with the big wheels, best bike. I wiped out on that thing doing 60 miles an hour on my own fault, and I was skidding sideways down, but I was all leathered up, and I was skidding down the road and say, when is this going to start hurting? It never hurt because I was properly dressed. And I did, the peg poked a hole through my boot and into my foot, but that was about the only damage that it did. And I walked away from it, and in fact, if the cop came down in Mexico, you want to avoid the police if you can, because so he says, "Oh, you're okay." Yeah, I'm fine. Go. So So, but yeah, and I love that bike because I was actually going about 60 miles an hour. In Mexico, you never know if the manhole cover has a top on it or not. So that old KLR 650, manhole cover, with a hole in it, no manhole, and I just held on, and it was like it wasn't even there. It just went right over that thing. It was amazing. So, yeah, and I've got a cruiser down here now. I got to get. I don't like the motorcycles. But I saw a guy that hit. What's that? There's an Austrian motorcycle that I saw that was like a enduro. Is it KTM? Who's there's an Austrian motorcycle maker, and I'm going to get my dream bike before because hey, you know what? If I get wiped out on a motorcycle, I died happy. Okay, and you guys don't have to grieve with me at all because that's definitely the way to go. Because it's so much fun. Are you going to get back on that motorcycle?
So I haven't since the crash, which was back in 2013. However, I'm not against motorcycles. I just don't have a motorcycle. So, but at some point, I don't know. I may get back. I don't have a fear of motorcycals. I'm not scared of motorcycles.
No.
Just
I got two of them down here. When we come down, maybe you and I'll get them both. I got an old Boulevard, and I had a guy living with, and I kind of bought him one. It's not one I really wanted, but the thing about a nice thing in Mexico about a motorcycle is you can go right up to the border and there's no border wait. You go right to the front of the line.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. As long as we
motorcycles are definitely winning.
As long as we don't let anybody know that I got on a motorcycle, yeah, I'll definitely come down. Just don't tell any of my friends or family members. But, you keep that between you and me.
Oh no, it'll be on YouTube. We'll start production down here on this cruise. You and we'll ride the motorcycles out to watch the race. Everybody else will be on a bus. So we got some ATVs down here too. So
how do you watch a race in the desert? Wouldn't it just be a cloud of dust?
Well, kind of. We have a really great spot when they go. We're with up on a hill. And so you see them coming down one hill and up another, then down another into a valley. So there's a great place that we go and to watch it. Now, where we're going to have to go is where it starts. So yeah, they used to start it right out of Ensenada, right as you get off the ship. But apparently they're not going to do that anymore because it kind of ties up the whole city. So now they have it. It's called Estero Beach, which is it's an estuary, and they have a field out there, and so they kind of run around a circle, then take off and go the 400 miles. So it'll be where they start the race is where we're going to go. So, but if you've never seen one before, it's something to see. I mean, they're noisy and they're dirty, and it's just a lot of fun. So it's if you've never seen one, it's definitely worth seeing. So. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Anything else you want to say, Socrates? You want to give people your information where they can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on Twitter and also just started a new YouTube channel that is going great. It is Socrates Streams. Spell my name SAWCRUHTEEZ. I do a daily update on the price of Bitcoin and also follow gold and the S&P 500. Have also been keeping our eye on the altcoins as they have been crumbling. So that has been awesome. You can also find me on TradingView. I post regularly on TradingView, also some charts there. So I absolutely couldn't agree more with Ugly Old Goat's stance in that trading is all about risk management, and 90% or more of trading is completely dependent on managing risk. And one thing that I'll say before leaving is that something I like to tell people when they're new to Bitcoin, or they're kind of scared about getting into a really volatile asset, is I firmly believe that it is riskier to not own Bitcoin than it is to have 1 to 5% of your net worth exposed to Bitcoin. So a part of risk management.
And I recommend, that's so true. And I recommend at least 5% and really 15%. I'm comfortable with 40%. So I don't have any problem with 40%, but, and, you know, I used to, when I started, I mean, if you know my story, I was building a business and I was buying equipment for my business. And so I was in debt, and I was, you know, I know how to use credit in a business. If you're given credit, you don't buy it. You don't use credit to buy TV sets or things like. It's only equipment that will make money for you, and that's what I did. And so, but I still had that debt, and so when I bought my first Bitcoin, it was on Coinbase, and they had the ATH. Actually, you know, I had, you know, check protection things. So I was actually overdrawn to buy the first Bitcoin on the ATH. So I know that. So, you know, basically my assets were 100% in Bitcoin. And you know, if you're a youngster and you know, I don't have any problem with that even because I think that's the real potential. But as a prudent investor, I don't have 100% in Bitcoin anymore. Probably 40% of my assets are in Bitcoin, but I still, you know, it all works out for you. It just takes time. So, hey, what are your views on gold, incidentally, Socrates?
I am a big believer in gold. I own physical gold. I have very much agree with Saifedean Ammous in that gold is the biggest competitor to Bitcoin, and therefore I want to own both. And I fully believe that basically, if you look back throughout history, 100% of fiat currencies have failed. 100% of fiat currencies have failed, and I firmly believe that history will repeat itself. And for me, it doesn't matter too much if it's Bitcoin or gold that does replace fiat currency. I firmly believe that Bitcoin can do everything that gold can do and much more, and that a Bitcoin standard would be much better than a gold standard. That Bitcoin is the hardest money that humanity has ever known. However, if we do go back to a gold standard, that would be a great alternative as far as I'm concerned. I call what we're in right now the financial, we're in the financial dark ages is what I consider. And we will, Bitcoin could lead us into the Renaissance.
We're not. We are in the no. This is the sound money. Believe me, I was in the dark ages. Okay, and back in 79, 80, that was the dark ages. You are in the Renaissance. You just don't see it yet. It will be known that this is the Renaissance now. So this is not the dark ages.
Personal net worth has never been lower. Debt has never been higher. I really do believe, and financial literacy has never been lower. People do not understand how to use debt. They don't understand how to save. They don't understand how to invest.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that. I'm just flabbergasted. Look, I was gone 11 years and I got out, and then I saw Bitcoin, and these Bitcoiners have built something on the intellectual giants of the past. I don't think you know how dark it was back in the 70s and 80s. This is the Renaissance. This Bitcoin nation, you guys, it's it. You're it, man. And so don't sell yourself short. Just because, okay, look at the Renaissance. What percentage of the people participated in the Renaissance?
A small portion, but it didn't happen until a country went on the gold standard. And I fully agree with you that it will start with a country going on the Bitcoin standard, a country developing from Bitcoin.
But we have it. We have a country. Bitcoin, we have the Bitcoin nation. I'm not going to depend on some government to bail us out or make sound money. Who's that guy?
Yeah.
This is Whitney.
Whitney. Oh, hello, Whitney.
Guys, I've got to run, so I really appreciate you having me on.
Guys.
See you, Socrates.
Yeah, we'll see you, Socrates.
Thank you, Socrates. Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye. We're going to get ready to go, but I want to show off the shirt. This is what you're going to get if you come on the cruise. All right. And it's really kind of silly.
Nice.
There'll be a lots of other perks too. We have a little factory here where we can make shirts and hats. That's part of being on the Bitcoin standard.
Unfortunately, Whitney is not coming on the cruise with me. She is going to make the trip with me to California from the East Coast, but she's not going to come on the cruise, unfortunately. Someone in the chat asked if Whitney's coming.
Well, you know what? We don't have any. I'm not a dog fan myself, but my wife loves them. I don't know how many dogs. I can't keep track of how many dogs we have. But our dogs would probably eat that thing.
Probably right.
She likes pit bulls.
Yeah, probably.
That's the kind of dog that she needs to find. You know, just something that can be her companion all the time. What kind of dog is that?
She's a Jack Russell Chihuahua mix.
Okay, all right. Well, very calm. A lot of Chihuahuas aren't.
Well, I gave her a nice meaty bone, so she's been gnawing on it this whole time to keep her nice and quiet, so she hasn't been barking. If she did start barking, I was going to hit the mute button so she doesn't disturb you guys.
Okay. Hey, man, I'm looking forward to you being on the cruise. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know you're going to be a big contributor, and that's all I'm devoted to. I haven't been trading at all because I got to handle this cruise, and people warned me not to do it, but now I had to do it. Now I understand what they're talking about. But if we get one past us, you know, and I don't take too big a loss on it, then hopefully it'll set a precedent for more, because it's a very inexpensive cruise. And if you've never been on a cruise before, some people love them and some people hate them. So, you know, if you find out that you don't like a cruise, you're only going to be on it for a few days. And if you do like them, then you'll come back.
Yeah, I've been on a cruise before, and I liked it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, they're fun. So it's just different, and so we'll see how this one goes, and then if it works well, we'll do it regularly, because I frankly, my goal is I'd like to fill up a whole ship with Bitcoiners. We'd be really a target then. They could really create what do they call that, a flag event, a false flag.
You know what they say about Bitcoiners and boating accidents, right? Are you sure that's a good idea?
Yeah, tell me about that, because I don't get it. What has happened? There's been a lot of boating accidents.
Every prominent Bitcoiner has had a boating accident at some point. They all say, like Giacomo Zucco said on his Twitter, he said, "Oh, I identify as a boating accident victim," and so it's this meme that all Bitcoiners say whenever anybody asks, you know, "Hey, how much Bitcoin do you have?" It's like, I lost all my coins.
Giacomo has no more credibility with me because he changes his identity constantly. You know, I remember some kind of a black woman, and now he's not a black woman.
Yeah.
I'm an ugly old goat. I identify as an ugly old goat. I haven't changed it. Giacomo, you need to pick one and stay with it. Okay, you can't just be. What do they call that when you're changing your identity all the time? I'm sure they have a special name for that.
Yeah, a bit of a chameleon.
Okay.
But I think to echo what Socrates said, I texted a close friend of mine, and I said, if you don't own at least some Bitcoin, now this isn't investment advice. This is just something I told a personal friend of mine. If you don't own at least some Bitcoin, even a small amount, you're being irresponsible. That's what I texted my friend and told her that. And I think we're all set. I mean, you guys can find me on Twitter, Bitcoin Motorist. I'm also on YouTube, Bitcoin Motorist on YouTube as well. So feel free to follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the cruise. I look forward to meeting a lot of you guys in person and speaking about Bitcoin. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited, and thank you so much for inviting me, Ugly. I'm very much excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you. Frankly, I didn't even think about it till I saw you on Tone Vays, and that went so well. I said, "Oh man, I need to get him on." And that's like I say, this is really. I'm not. I mean, it's nice to have some of the Bitcoin superstars and stuff like that, but that's not what this is about. I want to do where the tire meets the road is where we're at, and that's where we on all these guys and most of the people here that's where we're at. We're not big superstars, but we're Bitcoin believers. We can guide you through the mistakes that we made, which, hey guys, that's worth a lot. If we can keep you out of those altcoins, if we can keep you thinking in Bitcoin, if we can start a dollar averaging program, and we get that message through to you, it's invaluable, because we have all made, I mean, I'm sure you went through your little altcoin phase.
I've made many mistakes in Bitcoin. Yes, absolutely. If you've been in Bitcoin for longer than a year or so, you've probably made some big mistakes.
Yeah. So, but dollar cost averaging compensates for a lot of mistakes, doesn't it?
It sure does. Absolutely.
All right. So that's where we're at. Guys, I hope if you can make it, we certainly would welcome you on this cruise. Again, it's going to be relaxed. You're going to be able to talk with everybody on a one-to-one, practical stuff, good stuff, and we'll just see where this thing goes. It'll be.
There she goes.
I forgot to mention, Socrates and I have been invited to this a la-di-da thing in Bali. I mean, so I got to buy those tickets and get, because the goat lady wants to go, and I don't know that I'm qualified to be in the stratosphere as
of course you're qualified.
Yeah, but I'll do my best, and I'm confident in my training skills, and I know I can help. I already have. I mean, people have sent me lots of testimony of how I've really, if they haven't been very profitable, I've at least saved them from some very terrible mistakes. And that's a big one. So stay in Bitcoin, forget about those alts, dollar cost average till you get your hodl. Once you get your hodl, okay, then you're ready to maybe do a little bit of trading and hedging. But to get hodl, save. Biddle. And build it. And it has to be
sound money.
And it's just sound money. It's really stupid, but you know what? People, it registers.
Love it.
Like, it's so stupid, but it does, that's my message in a very simple form. And it's not that hard, and it's all Bitcoin alone, and that's where we're going to go. So, well, but I look forward to seeing you. And if you need help with that puppy, I'm sure my wife would be glad to on the cruise, but she would love, maybe you could see if you could sneak it on board. I don't know what's involved with it.
No, I'm not. She's going to stay. My dog's probably going to stay with my family members in LA. But I don't know if I have time afterwards. Maybe you can come on down in. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to.
Yeah, I'm only going to come down here. In fact, that's what this whole thing is that we have down here. The next year is I want to develop the Bitcoin house down here. I need to do lots of things. I need help with social media. I'm
only going to be in LA for a few days, so I may not have a chance to come down to Ensenada. But if I do, maybe I'll.
Yeah, but you're welcome. Yeah, well, anytime. It doesn't have to be this time. It's just that we have space down here. I don't know where I'm going with this thing. You just, when you're in business, you kind of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and what sticks you go with. So,
sure, absolutely. That works with a lot of things, not just business.
All right, Bitcoin must have been lots of fun. We're going to hit it off. Guys, if you want to just hang out with a bunch of crazy Bitcoiners, that's what this cruise is all about. The ticket is a 20th of an ounce of Bitcoin, which with Bitcoin, and you get a 50 if you sign up through Socrates or through Bitcoin Motors, you get 15% off of that. and then the cruise itself is around $400.
Video later and his link.
Yeah, when we'll get you a link, and then on this video we'll have your link and Socrates' link. So if they want to order something, a newsletter, or if they want to order the cruise, or anything else, they can use.
All right, and send me a link so I can sign up for the newsletter as well. I can't believe I haven't signed up yet. So,
okay, all righty. We'll see ya later. We'll probably have Saturday Night Live. If you're around, we're going to do a Saturday Night Live, and I'm going to be Bitcoin Master Chef. So you don't have to come on. You'll probably, if you want to, show your face. And
I'm going to be busy, but I'm going to try to listen to it when I'm out and about Saturday night. But I'm going to try to have it on while I'm doing other things.
Well, it's a fun thing. We want to do serious things, but it's kind of just for fun. And that's another thing too. I got a long way to go to learn YouTube. So I want our production quality to go up and everything that we do. And the only content that I feel confident in is my Medium articles. I know what I'm doing there. The rest of this stuff, that's all new to me. So, all right, Bitcoin motorists, it's great. Looking forward to wherever we go with this thing. And I think Bitcoin's the future, and we're in the right spot. So,
all right, Ugly. See you soon. Thank you very much.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.